I wish that I didn't have to do it, but I was so scared and horrified, but I didn't stop. I didn't stop her.
On the 3rd of January 2016, police would receive a harrowing phone call that would mark the beginning of one of the most bizarre murder cases they had ever seen.
But I was just out walking my dog, and I came across some bones that looked to me to be human. Maybe they're not.
Detectives were almost immediately dispatched to the scene where they determined the bones were indeed human, but were confronted instantly with the first of many oddities within this case.
We had a majority of the torso area, but we didn't have from the elbows or knees down, and we also did not have the skull.
Only a portion of the body was recovered in this location, sparking immediate confusion and concern. It was obvious that foul play was involved, and you could see saw marks across the bones proving that whoever it was had been torn apart and dismembered after they were killed. Detectives looked for any leads they could, but even attempts to extract DNA became dead ends as they failed to find any matches. 4 years passed with no developments on the case until all of a sudden, the answer became terrifyingly clear. Ryan Zimmerman was a 22-year-old man who had gone missing in 2015, just months before the bones had been discovered. After looking more into Ryan's case, detectives realized they'd made a vital mistake.
But as soon as it came on my radar, that was what I realized: we had never gotten DNA from his family.
Detectives quickly gathered new samples from his family and discovered that the bones discovered 4 years earlier were indeed his. This prompted detectives to look deeper into his case, where they realized that he had been hiding a secret from his family that eventually had led him directly to his death.
He had made a post on Craigslist personals, so he was looking for more of someone to take care of him.
Was he interested in transitioning to being a woman?
He started looking into some of it, such as the hormone therapy. He also would go shopping for different female clothing.
Ryan's social media and internet activity revealed that just a few months before his disappearance, he had met someone online by the name of Sarah Buzzard. Ryan moved from his home in Kentucky to Corey's house in Ohio alongside 2 women named Sarah and Naira. Ryan did his best to fit in with the other couple, but found himself often clashing with Naira due to their differing views on who transgender women should portray themselves.
She felt that if you wanted to be a female, you needed to portray yourself as a female and not let anyone else know otherwise.
But for the first month or so, things went fine until in late September, things would start to go drastically wrong for Ryan. Corey broke up with him and told him he had to pack up his things and move out of their shared apartment. Ryan begged Sarah to let him stay, but he was told that he was only there for Corey's purpose and that he needed to leave. But it later turned out that it wasn't that simple. Far from it. The entire time Ryan had been living there, Naira had been developing a fantasy about killing him and decided that his eviction was the perfect time to turn it into a reality. Sarah spent some time talking these through with Naira, originally taking them to be jokes, but allegedly became concerned after she started collecting tools and became more intricate with the plans.
I tried to talk her out of it calmly at first, and then I started getting a little hysterical, and she told me that if I didn't help, that she was going to do it anyway, and that it was going to be a lot messier and a lot harder to get everything done by herself. She said that she would just give me a small role to play, but she would do most of the heavy work.
Sarah goes on to explain that she was extremely concerned but didn't call the police out of love for Naira, and that she would have felt like a horrible person for ratting someone out that had helped her through so much. In her mind, it was better for her to kill Ryan than to break up with Naira, and so she agreed to team up and help her.
She had a rag that she dipped in bleach, and she had a bottle of vinegar next to her. I guess they had some kind of chemical reaction and released some kind of poisonous gas. I don't really know. So when Ryan came out, I jumped on him from behind. Naira came in and straddled him and then pressed the rag over his face. When he started making these guttural gasping noises, Naira let me get out from under him. I curled up in the office and cried. I wish that I didn't have to do it, but I was so scared and horrified, but I didn't stop. I didn't stop her.
Sarah and Naira then dumped his body into their bathtub, cut away his hands, feet, and head, and then spent the following 3 days disposing of his body across multiple different states. But even before police were aware of this, they were still closing in on Sarah and Naira due to the information found on Ryan's social media. In July, they searched both their apartment and their car and found traces of human blood in both. Sarah was arrested just weeks later, where she made her confession and pleaded guilty, but Naira wouldn't go down as easily. When detectives returned to arrest Naira after Sarah's confession, she rushed to her purse, pulled out a firearm, and took her own life in front of the officers. Sarah was sentenced to life in prison in the conclusion to one of the most bizarre cases we've ever seen, but at least this couple tried to hide what they did. The same cannot be said for this man, Michael Parks. In August of 2020, Michael called police to report his wife, Hope Parks, missing.
Hi, my name is Michael Parks, and me and my wife, we kind of got into an argument Tuesday, and I haven't seen her. Somebody picked her up. She got into a car with somebody, and they left.
Michael gave a small description of Hope, focusing on small details such as tattoos and her hairstyle, a description that perfectly matched a body they had found just hours earlier.
911, where is your emergency?
I'm on North 225 West Road. There's a body hanging off the bridge, no head. I'm freaking out. I never seen something like this.
The body they found was discovered slotted underneath the barricade on the side of the bridge, so its torso was lying fully visible on the road, and the legs were dangling off the side of it. The head was also completely missing from the body. The body also had the same tattoos on it that Michael had described, so he was brought in for questioning without being told they found the body. Michael begins the interrogation by explaining that he and his wife had been arguing about their son, who had fallen into drug abuse, and was living with them as a way to dodge rent and live easily. Michael said it was time for him to move out, but his wife thought otherwise, so he gave her an ultimatum and said it was either him or his son.
It got to the point where I told her to choose between me or him. One of us has got to go. Well, he left.
Eventually, the detective breaks the news that they may have found his wife, which seems to make him even more uncomfortable and causes him to display body language hinting as though he's hiding something. A strange reaction given that his story is that he's worried about her and just wants her to come home. Detectives then decide the best course of action is to search their car and home so they can clear Michael of any wrongdoing, and Michael gives consent almost instantly.
What we'd like to do is be able to get consent, and we'd like to be able to get that from you. Is that something you'd be willing to do?
I can bring you the car right now if you want.
His eagerness seems to denote innocence, but what detectives found at Michael's home was such a horrifying contrast that it shocked them to their cores. Before even entering the house, detectives found several blood spills on the porch, on the back patio, and through the grass beside the house. Bloody footprints were found pacing around the garage, and a stray bullet was found beside the patio. But all of this was nothing compared to what was discovered in the basement. As the detectives walked down the stairs, more and more blood could be seen, and the ground was disturbed, where somebody had been dragged, and lying covered in a shallow pool of dried blood was Hope Parks' decapitated head. This discovery cemented Michael as the prime suspect, and he was brought in for a second interrogation where he confessed to accidentally shooting his wife.
We were arguing, like I said, over my son. I was on the back porch after everybody left. I was going to shoot a groundhog. I had groundhogs in the backyard. I knew it. My neighbor does. He never came back. I went to discharge the gun. I shot 3 rounds into the tree. I went in the house. I was going to clean the gun. Sat at the kitchen table. It went off. There was still 1 round in it. She hit the floor. She was fixing dinner. I panicked.
Following his admission, Michael was placed in prison awaiting trial for reckless homicide, but before he was able to be tried, more evidence was found that would bring his case collapsing to the ground. It had come to light that he had been researching the effectiveness of bottle silencers and pillow mufflers, 2 makeshift weapon attachments not required for just shooting groundhogs. This was all detectives needed to put the final nail in Michael Parks' case, convicting him of first-degree murder and sentencing him to live the rest of his life behind bars.